Hello, and welcome to Real English, Real Life. I'm glad you're joining me today for an important topic that many English learners struggle with: building confidence in speaking English. Whether you're a beginner or you've been learning English for a while, the idea of speaking fluently and confidently can be challenging. It's something that takes time, practice, and the right mindset to achieve. In today's episode, we're going to dive deep into how you can build that confidence and improve your ability to communicate in English. We'll talk about practical strategies, mindset shifts, and how to embrace mistakes as part of the learning journey. Let's begin by acknowledging that speaking a new language can feel intimidating. It's completely natural to feel nervous when you're speaking in a language that's not your native tongue. You might worry about making mistakes, being misunderstood, or even embarrassing yourself. But here's the thing: everyone feels that way at some point, even fluent speakers of multiple languages. The key is to push past that fear and focus on growth rather than perfection. One of the first things you need to understand is that confidence comes from practice. The more you practice speaking English, the more comfortable you'll become. Think of it like riding a bike or learning to swim. At first, it feels strange and a little scary. You might wobble, fall, or make mistakes, but with time and repetition, you start to get the hang of it. Speaking English works the same way. The more you practice, the more natural it will feel, and over time, your confidence will grow. But what does practicing English look like? It's not just about repeating words or phrases over and over. Practice needs to be intentional and meaningful. Here's a tip: start by setting small, achievable goals for yourself. If you're a beginner, your goal might be to introduce yourself confidently in English. If you're at an intermediate level, you might aim to have a short conversation about your daily routine or your hobbies. And for advanced learners, you could challenge yourself to talk about more complex topics like your career, current events, or even abstract ideas. By setting small goals, you're creating manageable steps that will lead to bigger successes. Another key to building confidence is speaking regularly. Find opportunities to speak English as much as possible, even if it's just for a few minutes each day. You don't need a formal classroom setting to practice speaking. You can practice with friends, language partners, or even by yourself. Yes, speaking to yourself in English is a great way to practice. You can describe what you're doing, talk about your plans for the day, or even review what you've learned recently. This helps you get comfortable with the sounds and rhythm of English. Speaking of rhythm, let's talk about pronunciation. One of the biggest concerns for many learners is whether they're pronouncing words correctly. It's understandable to worry about this, but I want to emphasize that clarity is more important than perfection. English is spoken with many different accents around the world, and it's okay if your accent is different from others. The goal is to be understood, not to sound exactly like a native speaker. So, instead of trying to mimic every word perfectly, focus on speaking clearly and making sure the person you're talking to can understand you. Over time, your pronunciation will improve naturally. Another important factor in building confidence is vocabulary. Sometimes, we feel nervous about speaking because we think we don't know enough words. While it's true that having a strong vocabulary helps, you don't need to know every word in the dictionary to communicate effectively. In fact, one of the best things you can do is learn how to work with the words you already know. If you're in a conversation and you don't know a specific word, don't panic. You can often describe the word you're looking for, use a synonym, or even ask the person you're speaking with for help. This is a natural part of communication, even for native speakers. Now, let's talk about mindset. Confidence in speaking English is not just about having the right skills. It's also about how you approach the learning process. One of the biggest obstacles to building confidence is the fear of making mistakes. But here's the truth: mistakes are an essential part of learning. You cannot improve if you don't make mistakes, because mistakes show you where you need to grow. Instead of being afraid of them, try to embrace them as opportunities to learn. When you make a mistake, it's not a failure, it's feedback. It shows you what you need to work on, and that's a good thing. The more you can shift your mindset from "I have to be perfect" to "I'm learning and improving," the more confident you'll feel. Another aspect of mindset is self-talk. What are you telling yourself when you practice speaking English? Are you saying, "I'm terrible at this," or "I'll never get it right"? If so, it's time to change that inner dialogue. Positive self-talk can make a huge difference in your confidence. Start telling yourself things like, I'm improving every day, or it's okay to make mistakes. Remind yourself that learning a language is a journey, and every step you take is progress. Celebrate your small wins, like successfully ordering food in English or having a brief conversation. These moments are proof that you're moving forward. Now, I know that one of the most challenging parts of speaking English is having conversations with native speakers. It's easy to feel intimidated when someone is fluent, but remember this. Most native speakers are not expecting you to be perfect. In fact, they often admire people who are learning their language. They understand that it's not easy, and they're usually happy to help if you get stuck. So don't be afraid to engage in conversations, ask questions, and let people know you're learning. The more you speak with native speakers, the more confident you'll become. One great way to build confidence in speaking is through role-playing scenarios. Imagine you're in a specific situation, like at a restaurant, a job interview, or asking for directions. Practice speaking as if you're really in that situation. You can do this with a friend or on your own. For example, if you're practicing ordering food, you can go through the entire process in English. I'd like to order a salad, please. Can I have it without onions? And I'll have water to drink. By rehearsing these common situations, you'll feel more prepared when they happen in real life. Another powerful tool is listening. The more you listen to English, the more familiar you'll become with the language, its rhythm, and its structure. Listening to podcasts, watching English shows, or even listening to English music can help you pick up new phrases, expressions, and pronunciation patterns. It also helps you get used to how English sounds in different contexts. When you listen regularly, you'll start to notice that your brain becomes more accustomed to understanding and processing English, which will, in turn, boost your confidence in speaking. Let's also talk about patience. Building confidence in speaking English takes time, and it's important to be patient with yourself. Don't expect to become fluent overnight. Instead, focus on making steady progress. Every day that you practice, you're getting closer to your goal. Some days you'll feel like you're improving a lot, and other days it might feel like you're not making any progress at all. That's okay. Learning a language is not a straight line. It's a process with ups and downs. The key is to keep going, even when it feels difficult. Over time, you'll look back and realize just how far you've come. Another thing I want to encourage is joining an English-speaking community. Whether it's an online group, a language exchange, or a local class, being part of a community where you can practice speaking regularly will help you build confidence. It's a supportive environment where you can share your progress, ask questions, and learn from others who are on the same journey. In a community, you're not just practicing English, you're also building relationships and gaining encouragement from others. Before we wrap up, I want to emphasize the importance of consistency. Building confidence in speaking English doesn't happen in a day or a week. It happens when you practice consistently over time. Try to make English a regular part of your life. It could be something as simple as practicing for 10 minutes a day, speaking with a friend once a week, or setting aside time to listen to English content. Whatever your approach, consistency is key. In conclusion, building confidence in speaking English is a journey, but it's one that you can absolutely succeed in. Start by practicing regularly, setting small goals, and embracing mistakes as part of the learning process. Focus on clarity rather than perfection, and don't be afraid to engage with others in English, whether they're native speakers or fellow learners. Remember to be patient, practice positive self-talk, and stay consistent in your efforts. With time, your confidence will grow, and you'll find yourself speaking English more naturally and comfortably. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Real English, Real Life. I hope you found these tips helpful, and I encourage you to start putting them into practice right away. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to subscribe and share it with others who are learning English. Keep practicing, stay confident, and I'll see you in the next episode.